We come to this now. Some light at the end of the tunnel for the unemployment tunnel as the country sees a slight improvement. Well, it improved marginally by 0.7 percentage points to 31.7% in the third quarter. Stats say recorded its 8th consecutive quarter of employment increases. Now, that means almost 400,000 workers have been added to the job market. For more on this, we're now joined by Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke. And thank you so much for your time, Mr. Maluleke. A very warm good morning to you. Take us through the data and the numbers. And I wonder if this calls for, a celebration, a relief that we are seeing an improvement in as far as the unemployment rates in the country are concerned.
Greetings to Melo, and let me greet the ENCA viewers at home. But let me mention that I'm connecting from Nelspruit from doing work in the field with my colleagues that do a lot of this work. But let's get straight to the point. We as statisticians in official practice, to Melo, we don't celebrate the numbers. We leave the celebrations to yourselves and members of the public, because we can't have emotions on numbers we like and numbers we don't like. We have to make all numbers available. But straight to the point is that we have observed that this is the 8th consecutive growth of jobs or gaining jobs throughout since COVID-19. And this is the third quarter of 2023 is the second highest growth. We had previously gotten something like 648,000. So the 399,000 jobs is a great gain in terms of following from the 648,000. Now, let us go back to quarter one in 2020. In quarter one 2020, just before we were hit by COVID, we were having 16.4 million people employed in South Africa. And two quarters prior to that, we were sustaining that number of 16.4. We dropped to 14.1 in second quarter 2020 at the highest level of COVID lockdown. And in this regard, we have slashed about 2.3 million jobs. So the 8th consecutive growth was a recovery post-COVID. And now that we have surpassed 6.4, now as of the third quarter, sitting at 16.7 million people employed, it means that it's not only growth, but it's actually, it's not only recovery, it's recovery and growth, because we are seeing now growth beyond the 16.4 where we were sitting in the first quarter of 2020.
Right. Mr. Maluleke, when it comes to discouraged work seekers, what do the numbers tell us about this particular group?
All over and in different quarters, our discouraged work seekers have been sitting at about 3.5 million. They have gone to 3.7 million at times. But this time, we have actually gone down in the discouraged work seekers by about 72,000. And both those that have gone down in the discouraged work seekers, they didn't go to actively look for employment, because from the side of employment as well, we have actually gone down. Let me correct this. In the discouraged work seekers, we actually went down by 26,000, but they didn't go to the unemployed, because also in the unemployed, we lost about, or we went down by 72,000 in terms of those that went down. Now, all these people went to their jobs that have been gained. So we see the discouraged work seekers from the two quarters, quarter two and quarter three, sitting at 3.2 million. And having said that, when you look at those that are unemployed, they were sitting at 7.9 million. They dropped to 7.8 million, which has returned the unemployment rate of 31.9%.
And I'm also looking at the working age population. When you compare them to the different quarters, what does the working age population tell us? What are the numbers looking like for them?
Well, for starters, we should know that every year the working age increases, 15 to 64, as we have always said it. And you and I know, Tumelo, that we sometimes get beaten up for saying we include young people as young as 15 years, but we don't make laws. The Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Section 46(1)(b), tells us that we must, as a country, anyone over the age of 15 can work. But back to the issues. is that the working age has always been increasing coming out of 2013. And as it increases, every quarter we see and capture them. But we usually see a lot of increases at the beginning of the year because you have a lot of people who have left school and come to join in terms of search for work. So the working age is increasing, but then we put it in two categories. We have the working age as well as the labor force. The labor force is the number of people who are employed or unemployed. And the other portion is what we call not economically active, which includes the discouraged work seekers.
And I'm sure for our viewers, sake, the interest will also be in which industries are you seeing increases, Mr. Maluleke? I understand that manufacturing, for example, is one of them, but what other industries are you seeing this increase?
In terms of the increases, manufacturing actually lost jobs in the third quarter of 2023. Manufacturing lost about 50,000 jobs. And so is mining. Mining lost about 20-something thousand jobs. I can't just recall. But let us go back to which sectors have contributed to the gains. Finance helped us recover about 153,000 jobs. In terms of community and social services, which include government, we have regained 119,000 jobs. In agriculture, we have regained 63,000 jobs, and 51,000 jobs came from the side of trade. Now, the two provinces that have contributed the most are KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. KwaZulu-Natal gave us 153,000 jobs, largely in trade and finance, followed by Limpopo, which has given us about 61,000 jobs, still largely in trade and finance. The Free State didn't do well. They lost about 3,000 jobs, and that was largely in agriculture.
You're absolutely right. When it comes to the decreases in St. Thomasine, now making reference, you're right. It's manufacturing. We're seeing there the likes of mining. We're also seeing transport and utilities. And also, I understand that it's the youth, once again, young people of this country that remain vulnerable in as far as, what the data is telling us.
Young people remain vulnerable to labor markets. As we can see, those aged 15 to 24 years, their unemployment rate is sitting at about 58.3%. And when you go a bit higher to 25 to 34 years, their unemployment rate is sitting at about 38%. Now, that is not enough. When you look at young people 15 to 24 years again, there are about 10.2 million of them, regardless of where they are. 3.3 million of those are not in employment, education, and training. And that they sit with a need rate of 32.7%, which is almost 33%. It's even worse when young people are female. Largely when they are black female, they are actually much more exposed in the labor markets.
Well, we'll leave it there, Mr. Maluleke. Thank you so much for making time for us and sharing this data for us. And I did try to put you on the spot there to see if you're celebrating or not, but you've remained resolute and consistent to say, Tumelo, my job is to give you the numbers. You decide to celebrate or not. But thank you for always making time for us right here on ENC. Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke speaking to us about the data and as far as the unemployment stats are concerned in the country.